Good morning, 5th grade. Welcome to day number 2 on our name tag project. One thing that we have in front of us is a name tag. We should all have some bubble letters happening, and we should have used color in a pattern. So we repeated one color here, another color here, and then kept on going. Now a pattern is something that repeats. In this case, we go green, yellow, green, yellow, green. But we also had to use a pattern around the outside edge of our letters. So dark green, purple, dark green, purple, and we should add a dark green out here. Now behind your name, here's your job. You're going to create a complex pattern. Now a complex pattern is kind of like it sounds. It means it's a little bit harder than a simple pattern. In this case, it's these kind of elaborate looking wavy squares. If you're just sitting there thinking square, circle, square, circle, square, circle, you're right, that's a pattern, but let's make it a little bit more complex and see what you can come up with. Now for those of you interested in doing a pattern kind of like this, let me show you how to do it. Start with a couple dots, and if your pattern goes behind your name, that's okay. I'm going to keep making my dots, and I'm going to imagine where they would end up behind my name. And once I get these done, I will actually open up this name tag and I will show you again how to do them on the inside, because I know this is a little bit tricky to see with my name already written down there. But what you're going to do around each dot, and I'll show you on this guy, is you're going to make kind of a stretched out S. Stretched out S. Stretched out S. And then once you have one side, you can do that on the next side. Stretched out S. Stretched out S. Even where it ends up off the paper, same thing. Now that was kind of a crash course in making that pattern. Now you don't have to do yours on the inside, but it'll be a little bit easier for me to show you how to create that pattern for those of you who are interested in doing that. So you start with kind of a grid of little tiny circles. And if you think about it, your circles should kind of form squares. Now once you're ready, this is where those stretched out S's come in. Start around one, wrap it around the other. Do that on each circle. Turn your paper, do the same thing. Wrap it around that little circle. Now again, you didn't have to do yours on the inside, I just wanted to show you how to make that pattern. But this is a complex pattern because it takes a little bit more effort to draw than doing something that's super simple like this. Although this is a pattern, what we want is something a little bit more difficult, kind of like this. And that's going to be important because once we've got our pattern on the front, drawn out, you're going to color it. Now you can color it however you like, so long as it stays colored in a pattern. Once that's done, you're going to flip it over. And on the back, you are going to create another complex pattern, but this time you have to create your pattern using lines. And here's how we're going to do that. We're going to start in one corner with one circle. From that circle, you're going to make a single line, nice and wavy, all the way down your paper. And you're going to keep coming off of that circle, just like this. And each time you do that, you start very close together with your lines here, and as you work your way out, you're going to get a little bit farther. If you end up with something kind of like this, where it goes off the paper, that's fine. Just draw right up to the edge, but don't forget to fill in that gap on the end. Now we've got something that looks just like this. Now what we're going to do over here is the same thing. We're going to start with a circle, and we're going to come off the edge all the way to the side. All the way to the side. All the way to the side. So what we end up with on the back of our name tag is something that looks a little bit like that guy. Now, what you're going to do is use a colored pencil, and just choose one for now, because what we're going to start to do is shade. And so you can see it easier on the camera, I'm going to use a regular pencil. But what we talked about with shading, also known as value, is how hard we press with our pencil. When you press hard, you get a nice dark color. But the shading comes in when we take that pencil and we press hard, but then slowly start to begin pressing lighter. Didn't mean to repeat myself. This is called value. Some of us call it shading. But what we're talking about with the value is going from a dark to a light nice and smoothly, or going from a light to a dark nice and smoothly. So what you're going to do on this backside is you're going to start in one of these lines, and you're going to start with a nice point. And I know our camera is still a little bit blurry, and we're going to keep working on that with our lessons. I promise it'll get better as we go through our project. Where it's the thinnest, you're going to press the darkest. And then as you come out, you're slowly going to begin to press lighter and lighter and lighter. Now remember, you should be doing this with a colored pencil. I'm using a regular pencil just to show you guys and girls what it looks like. When you've got one done there, flip it over and do the same thing from this side. I'm going to start nice and dark right here, and I'm going to shade it, shade it, shade it, shade it. If you end up on the edge, that's okay. Slow down and keep going with your shading until you get something that blends in with a nice light white. This takes a little bit of practice. So for those of you who are stuck, let's think about it like this. Practice drawing a line pressing hard, but as you draw that line out, begin to press lighter and lighter on your pencil. Now if that part's too easy, but the shading is still a little bit tricky for you, just take your pencil on a scratch piece of paper and press dark and work on shading it lighter. What we did back here is what you're going to do on each one of these lines. Each time you shade in one of these guys, you're going to flip it over and you're going to shade another one. This doesn't have to be colored into a pattern. It does, however, have to be shaded in each line. So if you want to choose a different colored pencil for each one, go for it, but make sure you're shading and using value.